and welcome to everybody joining me today, me and Fanafikile. And it's going to be an amazing interview. An entrepreneur, you're an inspiration to me, and a friend, and also a fellow firewalking instructor. And we're going to talk specifically about the perseverance and how you stay in the game as an entrepreneur, because there's a lot of similarities in this and a lot of learning, because you are at one of these super athletes as well, where you rode across the Pacific Ocean, 5,500 kilometers, but also you've been an entrepreneur for most of your life. You know, looking at you, I won't say that you're a chemical engineer, but hats off to you. So just a little bit of a background about Fana. He was born in Untitled, and where he was the second born. Well done. And eventually you moved to Lenesia in Joburg, where you finished high school, and you studied chemical engineering and at the University of Joburg, and you graduated in 2010. And then you did try the working thing at SAB, and I think you did that for a year. Well done. You know, it's that is, for me, that's a sign of an entrepreneur. I'm like, what? This is it? No. Okay, let's stop this. And then you started your first business selling airtime. And then you started the clothing brand. That's impressive. Then you partnered with a group of artists in the poetry scene. And then now you have an amazing business, Refining Potential Training. And that's where you do your Mind Refinery seminars. Now, I'm going to ask you later to elaborate on that. But also, you're a master facilitator, you're a coach, you're a firewalking instructor like me. So I take my hat off to you, Fana. You've had many businesses. You've had a very colorful life and journey up to now. Anything else you want to add to this before we start?
I'm just a person who loves to learn. I mean, most times I find myself in spaces that I never thought I'd ever be in, because I like to learn. So because I enjoy learning, I learn from everybody, and there's no specific business I will say I won't do. You know, if someone is willing to teach me the ropes, I'm willing to go with it.
Yeah, and I must admit, I will testify to your willingness to learn. It's amazing when I see you connecting with a group of people. You're always listening. You're listening, and I've never from you experienced that. Wow, I'm this person. I've achieved this. I am that. And I take my hat off to you. You know, it's humble. It's humbling for me to see that, and something that I aspire to. You know, you taught me a lot. Many people see me sometimes as very cocky, but that's also my brand. Okay, cool. The last journey, amazing thing that you did was you saw this amazing adventure. You're going to row across the Atlantic Ocean. You're from Free State. Were you able to swim at that moment in time when you entered this competition to go and do this journey?
Not at all. I entered not knowing I'd win, so I didn't need to learn how to swim. No. You know, it's a TV competition. You don't think you win. No. So I was like, you know.
Yeah. Who needs this swimming thing? But I see 15,000 people entered, and you made the top 10.
Correct.
And then a panel of 4 judges picked you. So
yes,
I think everybody is thinking this. When did you have your first swimming lesson?
I was lucky, honestly. I was lucky that I was chosen as the one to row with Rihanna across the Atlantic Ocean. But I don't think I was chosen because I could swim. I think they were looking for something else, you know? And after I was chosen as the one, I had to disclose that I can't swim, because I knew I'd spend like months and months in the ocean. So I disclosed to Rihanna and the team that I really need some swimming lessons. And I was fortunate enough to be afforded an opportunity to learn from Ray Nettling himself at his swim school in Cape Town. So I spent about a week with Ray Nettling, and I was coached by a coach called Coach Ali. And it was an amazing time. It was very intense. But within a space of a week, I went from sinking in a pool to swimming across a 50-meter pool unaided. So I'm a fast learner.
I take my hat off to you. Just share with us a little bit about that journey, because that's 5,500 kilometers. That's quite a distance.
Yes. The one thing that stands out above everything else is I was in this world that I knew nothing about. So everything was just a new learning experience for me. From
Mm.
getting onto the boat, I didn't know how to row. I had to learn as I got onto that boat. So I needed to be sharp and on the go. And the sight of the sea, at first it used to be daunting. I mean, I would think I'm going out there, but what's happening out there? And I had
Mm.
to do a lot of self-reflecting and fix myself, which is what I help my clients do in my coaching practices. That
Yes.
change your mind, figure out what you want to focus on. So I had to work on that every day. And the conditions were not always favorable. There were times where I would ask myself, what the hell am I doing here? What the hell am I doing here? Because after a few days, you start feeling pain in parts of your body you didn't really think would happen. You know,
Yes.
my hands had blisters. I had what they call rower's claw. Every morning I had to just struggle, just stretching my hand.
No way.
My bum, I don't even want to talk about my bum. As a cyclist, as a fellow cyclist, you know how precious this asset is. So it was
And you
bruised.
had to
It had
use the term asset. Thank you for that. No pun intended.
so it was very tough, to be honest. Physically it was draining. Emotionally it was tougher for me because the isolation and being in the wide open big blue seas, there's thoughts and emotions that came to me that I thought I was over. Like I was dealing with things that I thought I was over, mourning my parent, my brother. So those are some of the things that I had to go through. While I was doing the rowing. So it was very tough, to be honest.
Yeah, because now you have time to deal with those thoughts. There are no distractions, no email, no phone, no social media, no clients. You have yourself,
Absolutely.
and that is tough, bud. That is not something that a lot of people are prepared to face.
Yeah.
And then you had to face that in an environment that you're not used to. I'm not going to
Yes.
say I'm used to the ocean. I get seasickness, so I avoid the ocean. But now in this environment, and talk about the isolation a bit. How does that? Because you
Yes.
only had one other guy, Rian, with you, so it's just
Yeah.
the two of you. But
Mm.
eventually, conversation will just die down a bit, and you just row.
Yeah. The one thing that a lot of people didn't even know is I barely knew Ria. We were basically strangers on a boat. Two
Yeah.
guys from two different backgrounds, two different races, put together on a boat to row across the Atlantic Ocean. So that is the context of this journey, you know.
Yeah.
So this basically we were learning each other, different characters coming into play, different languages coming into play, and there were times where I didn't even want to talk to you, but I was forced to talk to him because we are here, we sleep next to each other. And being isolated like that in the middle of the ocean, it gets really tough because even when I was mad for maybe something he said, I found that certain weaknesses about me in terms of communication. You know, maybe I
Yes.
would bottle things up. You know, I'd
Yes.
bottle things up and not say them, and I'd act out certain things. And I was fortunate because Rian is a straight talker. Now and then he'd call me out on certain things, and we have to deal with the thing. You know,
Okay.
so we had so many tense moments, and that's
Yes.
not fights, just dealing with the issue at hand. And I
Yes.
must say that I'm happy with the fact that 5,500 kilometers and not even once was race an issue. You know, we are always dealing with the incident and the issue, nothing else but that. And
Oh.
I grew from that. You
Okay.
know, I grew from that. We discussed so many things. I had to grow fast. You know, there was a point where I was moaning and crying. You know, look, no, 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 you don't understand. I don't know what I'm doing. And he had to be like a soldier and toughen up, Fana, toughen up.
Yeah.
And being there's only him and me, so
Mm.
there's no room for him to treat me like a sissy. He had to help me toughen up, and that
Mm.
was like an exponential growth pattern for me. So
I can imagine
it
that.
was tough, and yeah,
I can imagine that. And it says a lot about the two of you. Uh, but one thing I want to, I think what stands out for me is so many times in life now, and specifically entrepreneurs, we go,
yes,
oh, this doesn't work. Let me just leave this. Or this is giving me trouble. I need more support. I need more help. And I can't do this because of this, and I can't do that because of that. I mean, you couldn't get more resources in, neither could you walk away. And I feel sometimes we need to look inside to our inner power. But that takes a bit of backbone, don't you think? To
No,
reflect and go
totally.
back and what's your comment on that?
To be honest, that's the only thing I had to do throughout my business life and the ocean.
Okay.
I think the reason why I could draw across the Atlantic Ocean is the entrepreneurial practice and the coaching practice that I've been through with my life is I'm constantly reflecting, and I never say I'm always right, because someone can show you a weakness about you that you don't even realize you have.
Mm,
So my willingness to learn is a strength in this part, because I
yeah.
draw to that to say, okay, so this is how you know how to do something. But
Yes.
here comes someone with more experience than you, trying to help you see it differently. Are you going to be defensive about your way, or are you going to be open-minded and learn the new way? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of us struggle with that because we really want to be right. And as an entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs are strong-headed, right? And because they're strong-headed, they feel like my way is the only way.
Yeah. I know.
And
I know the best. This is
yeah,
the best idea, and I've been there.
yeah,
I don't know about you, but every time I'm in that position, I have humble pie for dinner. Usually one or two
yeah,
slices. It's not my
absolutely.
favorite food. But when it comes to we're right, I shot a video once and I titled it Defending the Castle, because our opinions and our beliefs are these great castles of truth that we build. And
Yes,
anybody trying to get in there, we defend it. We have this
yeah.
this massive wall around it. And it's
Mm.
difficult to open the drawbridge and let somebody in, because now you're vulnerable. and
Yeah,
and that is tough.
true.
But I'm glad you brought up the entrepreneurship thing, because now it's about 10 years since you finished your studying, so
Yes,
probably going into your 10th year of being an entrepreneur. And for me, that's a milestone. That's a massive milestone, and I see a lot of
thank you. Thank you.
similarities in your journey across the ocean with entrepreneurship, because you don't always see the end. You don't always know, am I going into the right direction? Some days you have a flat sea. Some days you see waves so big, I can't even see the horizon. And it's lonely. Entrepreneurship is quite lonely. So let's start with that from an entrepreneurial perspective. How, in my experience as a 20-year entrepreneur, I've had very lonely moments. And what advice can you give entrepreneurs to deal with that?
Yo, yo. I think going to school and getting a job is so simple. And when you decide I want to do my own thing, at first you start and think. I remember I used to when I quit my job and I told my mom. I remember I told her I'll be a millionaire in 5 years. That was like a bold step that I said.
I've done that
And
one as well.
I thought I was right. What I didn't know was the learning only starts when you start. You start from level
Thank you.
zero.
Yeah.
You
When
start
you
from level
start,
zero.
the learning starts. Not,
Start.
I've read 10 books about entrepreneurship and I'm going to start a business. I've learned a lot. No, no. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree with
So
you.
that's what I realized at first. I mean, I had to learn how to sell. I didn't know how to sell when I started. That's why I
Mm,
started my first business selling airtime. That was just for me to learn how to sell. It wasn't my dream business. I just needed to learn how to interact with people. And then I moved into a different business of selling clothes. So it's a lonely journey because you never get support from home. The only time that people celebrate you is when they start seeing it work.
mm,
Before then, you're on your own,
mm.
right? For entrepreneurs who are starting now, that's something they need to be aware of. That no one will support you at the beginning. You need to be willing to go at it. You need to be willing to get the knocks. You need to be willing to get the rejection. And that is lonely.
Yeah,
Nobody,
very.
even your girlfriend might leave you. Even your boyfriend might say, this is crazy. I don't want to be in this world. And keeping to it, and just, I think more than anything, be willing to learn. When you're willing to learn, you are in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you don't really stress about how far am I from that 1 million. You're more about fixing this now. There's something broken. How do I fix it? Fix it,
Yes.
and then you go to the next level.
Yes.
So it's almost like taking it step by step by
Yes.
focusing on what you're doing now and
Good.
taking in advices from people, because even your customers can be your teachers. I have people like yourself that I look up to, and I can observe from afar at how you are doing things and adapt my strategies based on that. So take it step by step, be willing to learn, and if there's someone who's doing what you're doing, look at how they do it, because they might just make your journey easier.
Yeah, so that's great. Thank you for that. And I want to get back to something that you said. You only start learning when you start. And funny enough, last night I had a conversation with somebody who's been like this for the past 5 years. Should I go my own or not? Now they're like, oh, I have a job and I'm going to hold on to it. I go, okay, cool. So for them, it's the fear of taking that first step. And I can see in my mind that first step onto that boat. Dude, that's brave. And that first step into entrepreneurship, I see very much the same. What advice would you give to people on how to take that first step?
The first step, you take it by not looking back. For as long as you still have a comfort zone, if your left foot is behind and it's warm, then you're not willing to make your right foot cold.
Oh, that's
So
brilliant. Yeah.
most people, unfortunately, because of this comfort of a job, of the salary is still there, they will always be afraid of taking that first step. So there's two ways I feel people can do it, which is doing it part-time. Do it part-time. If it's doable part-time, go for it part-time. If not, do what I do. Just take a leap of faith and jump. Don't even take the first step, jump. You jump and you figure it out. When you don't have a harness, when you don't have a parachute, you will definitely figure out, how do I survive when I land? For some reason, miraculously, you figure it out. Because you have no parachute, there's nothing to catch you. So you have to figure it out.
You've
And
seen
I've seen
pictures
in
of a
most
parachute, you have some stuff around, and you're like, let's see how that goes.
yeah. So I feel those are the two ways. Part-time gives you a bit of security, because now you want security because you value security. But for those of us who are mavericks, we just say quit and I'm gone. And for some reason, we progress faster because we don't have any backup. Because we have no backup, we progress faster. So choose one of those two, but I would honestly suggest take a leap of faith and go for it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad that's my way as well. Some days I go like, why do I start businesses like this? And I want to cry. And sometimes it pans out quite nicely. But something I want to add to that is, just to start, is people also have to realize, and using the word leap of faith, it doesn't necessarily have to be a leap. It could be a step of faith. It takes one. Just this foot, there. That's it. And do it small. Do it. Always try to reduce your cost of failure. And that's the key thing. If I would rather fail 30 times in 1 month than fail once in a month, because I know learning once in a month is not really going to, and I'll probably burn through a lot of cash during that day. But if I take small steps, I can always just make adjustments. And if I take one step and it's a small step and it's the wrong one, I can always just step back and go there and go back. And that's great about that. Okay, cool. Now getting back to the learning part. A lot of people, when I judge on incubator panels, or I become a coach or a business coach on incubation programs, one question I always ask when we interview the potential candidates, I go like, what are the books that you read in the past 6 months? And Fana, 99% of people go like, I don't read.
Wow.
And usually what I find as well, the people who don't read don't listen to coaching either. They don't listen to
Yeah.
advice. They don't listen to coaching. They don't listen to guidance. And they stick to their guns. Like you have children like me, like snot
Yeah.
to a wool blanket. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, only a dad would get that joke.
Nah,
And
not true.
I just want to delve a little bit into, I don't want to term it education because then people are going to, I need to go and study something. Okay.
Yeah.
How important is your ability to learn and willingness to learn in entrepreneurship?
That is key. I mean, one of the reasons why I decided to be an entrepreneur is while just after my varsity, while I was working at SAB for a year, I remember I used to travel from Lenasia to Krugersdorp to Chamdo.
Mm,
That's where I was working. And
yeah.
it was like maybe an hour taxi ride. I
Yes.
started reading books, you know. I'm a Robert Kiyosaki fan, so I used to read Robert Kiyosaki's books in a taxi to
Yes.
work. And that's how I thought I could be an entrepreneur, from reading the book. So the entrepreneurial spirit was sparked by reading.
Yes.
So in reading, I realized that in his book, he mentions seminars, he mentions coaching, he mentions all of these things that I don't have at the moment.
Yes.
So I started my journey knowing that I need to be willing as well to pay for coaching. I need to be willing to get mentorship. I need to be willing to go to seminars. So at first, I started by reading books, different books from different entrepreneurs, Richard Branson, to see how an entrepreneur thinks.
Mm.
I was not a born entrepreneur. I learned this journey. And because of reading, it became clear for me what direction I can go into.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't really realize that that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get stuck in your business and you pick up one book, just one book, and you read the book, and all of a sudden you get a solution.
Mm.
And that happens to me so much in my business life. If I don't read, I know there's times where I take a while without reading. I realize I get rusty too.
Mm.
Right? So it's important to always sharpen the mind by reading, being coached, and attending seminars whenever they're available. That's how I grow as a person, and that's how I always learn. I mean, I've invested thousands and thousands of money in being a personal development coach, which was crazy to most people when I started. When I told
Yes.
them how much I was paying for coaching, like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
And now my money is coming more tenfold. It's coming
Yes.
back tenfold.
Yes.
You know, so that investment in learning is very vital, and I recommend that to anyone who's an entrepreneur. Invest in yourself. That is always key. Invest in yourself, and that is learning.
No, that's true, and I'm glad you're hammering at that because I've we've seen each other at quite a few seminars, and it's
Yeah,
the willingness to take the cash out because yeah, the free content is wonderful, but you have to have that structured work. That's why every week
yeah,
I sit 1.5, 2 hours with my coach, and we go into deep surgery. And I have mentors as well. I have a male mentor and a female mentor, and they're tough as nails. And they keep me honest on that. And that's my type of coaching as well. And I
yeah,
think a lot of people go like, but why are you so tough? Well, do you want to fail here or there? At least this is a safe, it's a challenging environment. It's safe at least. Yeah. But okay, so now we have a few entrepreneurs looking at this, watching this video.
yeah.
Where would you start learning today? Now, with what you know, if you had to say 3 books that somebody has to go and read, go like, okay, this is a good start and primer.
Mhm.
What would your recommendations be?
My recommendations for 3 books would be The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh,
The Richest Man in Babylon. That book for me, it shaped how I saw money. It shaped
mm,
how I saw money, and it's an old book and written in the old style. So
yeah, very
it
much.
shows you how timeless the lesson is, right? So that's why I would say Richest Man in Babylon, and then follow that with Rich Dad Poor Dad. The reason for Rich Dad Poor Dad is it's more modern and it addresses some of the issues of that we are seeing now, going to school, getting a job, and it helps you question whether you are in the right path for yourself. So that book is key for me. And then there's a book that I like by T. Harv Eker called Speed Wealth. It's a very small book, but he breaks down how to make money fast. right?
Okay.
So he breaks it down in doable things, but then the way he makes it sound, it's almost as if you get a quick but he actually is clear that if you get these systems right, you stand a good chance. So
Okay.
those books, in terms of as an entrepreneur, I feel like those three books might help you have a clearer path.
Okay. There's an interesting observation I'm making here, and that is the bulk of these books are money related.
Yes.
Now, in the personal development space, I've seen, and we've both spoken on stages, when you use the M word, people sure as hell get charged up. There's
Mm.
some, but I'm not that, and I have this belief system, and it's not important to me. Every time somebody says money is not important to me, I said, well, imagine you talk about your husband or wife like you do about money with the hang around. They're like, mm-mm. I said, well, does money hang around you? They're like, mm-mm. Okay, cool. So I want you to give us some advice about this your perspective on the blocks that people have about money and the importance of having a focus. Because again, now working with a few entrepreneurs, I just want to create jobs, I just want to help people. I'm like, no, a drowning man can't save another drowning man. You have to be able to take care of yourself. So please, how some advice of overcoming the blocks and the importance of financial thinking.
Yeah. It's one of the struggles that I had to go through, the money part, because I'm a server. I like to serve. So most of the times I do things willingly and for free. And I've
Mm.
exerted myself so much in the past that what I give is not really what I get. And only because I was afraid to ask for money, only because I had personal uh, beliefs around money that because I'm a good person, good people don't ask for money, you
Mm.
know? But then I was drowning. I was really drowning. So the advice I'd have is some of our beliefs from home, these come from home, these come from schools that we went to, these come from the churches that we go to. Some of those are actually the biggest blocks that you have. And if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, and our success also as entrepreneurs is also measured in money. So you cannot say I'm successful as an entrepreneur, but you don't have the money to show for it.
Mm.
So you really need to get over some of those mental blocks that are created by society, created by a church, created by everywhere where you come from, so that you can start creating the income that you deserve, that your business deserves. So a good thing. I had to learn that myself, that money is a good thing and it helps me do more. When I have money, I do more. Even with my trainings now. Before I was even afraid to charge. Now that I charge more, I'm even able to give more to charity. Whereas before I wanted to be charitable without creating an income, which didn't make sense. What am I giving if I don't have? So please don't be afraid of making the money. Just make sure you read books that help you work on that as well, because there are books that help you work on the psyche around money.
Mm. And I want to change the word you said. I can do more. I can help more. Because I've
Yes.
I've dealt with coaches that say, well, I don't want to charge more than this. I said, no, you should charge 5 times that. No, I don't want to be greedy. I said, you are being a disservice, a selfish, rude
Hmm.
coach. And that triggers them. They're like, why are you saying that? Well, how can you help your clients develop if you don't develop yourself? If you don't grow,
True.
you can't help anybody else grow. And strange enough, 6 months later, I bumped into that person. How you doing? No, advice good. I'm charging a lot, and I'm learning a lot because then
True.
I can learn from other minds. Because coaching is expensive. In some cases, I pay 2,000-3,000 bucks an hour. And is it worth it? Absolutely. And do my customers benefit from that? And yeah, I wish we could change the thinking around money. I remember my stepdaughter telling me one day, because I gave her all the books that you suggested to read. I gave her the other Harv Eker book, Millionaire Mind.
Yeah.
And she said, you know how much they taught me about money in school? I said, no. She said it was one period, 30 minutes. That's it. Total high school career, 30 minutes, we talk about money.
That's sad.
And
That
that's
is sad.
sad. And I can see it today. People just money in, money out. And it reminds me of my brother's first boss that said, making money is easy. It's keeping it that's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult one. Fana, something else
Yes.
that I want to talk to you about. The importance of coaches and mentors in your life, because you play that role, but you've also had some amazing coaches and mentors in your life. Why should I have a coach or a mentor in my life?
The first thing about being coached is someone to keep you accountable.
Mhm.
We are so good at making excuses for ourselves. We are so good at that, and the reasons are valid, But when you have a coach and a mentor, especially coaching, because sometimes mentors they behave differently. But with a coach, there is no running away from somebody that you're coaching,
Yeah, they'll point to the
Because
elephant in the room consistently.
no. So because of that, I feel like the importance is for me, they help me keep me accountable to what I want to do. I think most people don't understand that a coach keeps you accountable to what you want, not
Yeah,
what they want.
it's not accountability to them, it's accountability to you. And
You.
that is the difference. Yeah, to myself.
Exactly. And because I'm being coached, I've realized that my growth is accelerated.
Mm.
I grow so fast that when you meet me 2 months ago and when you meet me now, I'm like leaps ahead. So for any entrepreneur, coaching is key.
Mm.
Coaching is key, and not just coaching in one side. Multiple coaches do help as well. I also get coached on the physical side, the exercise. I have people that I know, please help me. I need to get to a certain weight. I need to build these muscles. What do I do? And those guys just keep me accountable to my exercise. So that is very key to make sure that you balance your life as well with coaches. I know it's expensive. Start where you can. Don't look at, okay, I need a financial coach. I need a mental coach. No. Start where you can. If it's just a business coach, start with a business coach.
Mm.
And then eventually, when you start making more money, you can look at other parts of your life and get coaching in those parts.
Absolutely. Because as you learn, you start to identify things in your life. Maybe I need to develop there and everything else there. This has been great fun. I really, it's an honor to know you, and I'm glad I can say I know that guy. And you're truly an inspiration. I take my hat off to you. If I look at the pictures, and I'll post some on this video about this rowing journey of 5,500 kilometers, and I can see you just didn't do this once. You've done it multiple times as a business owner as well, and you keep persevering. You're an inspiration. The work that you do with young people where you are is, you're not in the city centers. You're working in the
No.
areas where most other coaches are going, oh, no, I don't want to go there. And I want to thank you for that. That's where the true change begins, where we can't see it. And I want to thank you for
Yeah.
the role that you play within South Africa and the people within South Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, William. Look, I honestly love what I do, and I'm fueled by the prospect of being an impactor wherever I go.
Mm.
The prospect of impacting one life, two lives. In fact, with the skill that we have, we can impact thousands of lives. And that's why I go to the rural areas. I go to where no one goes, because I know if I can unearth that gold, we can change the South Africa as a whole instead of having everybody go to the cities. I mean, we have gold everywhere in the country, in the minds of the young people. If I can reach those, I believe that the crime, I believe that the unemployment will change. I mean, more people will become entrepreneurs. And with more entrepreneurs, greater change comes. So that's what I'm after. That's why I stay where I stay. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to talk to you about that. Thank you very much, man.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you for that.